Chapter 3. Why do we need a parliament? Introduction. We in India pride ourselves on being a democracy. Here we will try and understand the relation between the ideas of participation in decision-making and the need for all democratic governments to have the consent of their citizens. It is these elements that together make us a democracy, and this is best expressed in the institution of the Parliament. In this chapter, we will try to see how the Parliament enables citizens of India to participate in decision-making and control the government, thus making it the most important symbol of Indian democracy and a key feature of the Constitution. India, as we know, became independent on 15th August 1947. Preceding this was a long and difficult struggle in which many sections of society participated. People from various backgrounds joined the struggle, and they were inspired by the ideas of freedom, equality, and participation in decision-making. Under colonial rule, the people had lived in fear of the British government and did not agree with many of the decisions that they took. But they faced grave danger if they tried to criticize these decisions. The freedom movement changed this situation. The nationalists began to openly criticize the British government and make demands. As far back as 1885, the Indian National Congress demanded that there be elected members in the legislature with the right to discuss the budget and ask questions. The Government of India Act 1909 allowed for some elected representation. While these early legislatures under the British government were in response to the growing demands of the nationalists, they did not allow for all adults to vote, nor could people participate in decision-making.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं, तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें.
As you read in Chapter 1, the experience of colonial rule as well as the participation of different people in the struggle for freedom left little doubt in the minds of the nationalists that all persons in independent India would be able to participate in making decisions. With the coming of independence, we were going to be citizens of a free country. This did not mean that the government could do what it felt like. It meant that the government had to be sensitive to people's needs and demands. The dreams and aspirations of the freedom struggle were made concrete in the Constitution of Independent India that laid down the principle of universal adult franchise. That is, that all adult citizens of the country have the right to vote. People and their representatives. The takeoff point for a democracy is the idea of consent, that is, the desire, approval, and participation of people. Approval means to give one's consent to and be favorable towards something. In the context of this chapter, it refers both to the formal consent through elected representatives that Parliament has, as well as the fact that it needs to continue to enjoy the people's trust. It is the decision of people that creates a democratic government and decides about its functioning. The basic idea in this kind of democracy is that the individual or the citizen is the most important person, and that in principle the governments as well as other public institutions need to have the trust of these citizens. How does the individual give approval to the government? One way of doing so, as you read, is through elections. People would elect their representatives to the Parliament. Then, one group from among these elected representatives forms the government. The Parliament, which is made up of all representatives together, controls and guides the government. In this sense, people, through their chosen representatives, form the government and also control it.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें।
The role of the Parliament. Created after 1947, the Indian Parliament is an expression of the faith that the people of India have in principles of democracy. These are participation by people in the decision-making process and government by consent. The Parliament in our system has immense powers because it is the representative of the people. Elections to the Parliament are held in a similar manner as they are for the state legislature. The Lok Sabha is usually elected once every 5 years. The country is divided into numerous constituencies as shown in the map. Each of these constituencies elects one person to the Parliament. The candidates who contest elections usually belong to different political parties. Once elected, these candidates become members of Parliament or MPs. These MPs together make up the Parliament. Once elections to the Parliament have taken place, the Parliament needs to perform the following functions. A. To select the national government. The Parliament in India consists of the President, the Rajya Sabha, and the Lok Sabha. After the Lok Sabha elections, a list is prepared showing how many MPs belong to each political party. For a political party to form the government, they must have a majority of elected MPs. Since there are 543 elected plus 2 nominated members in Lok Sabha, to have a majority, a party should have at least half the number, that is 272 members or more. The opposition in Parliament is formed by all the political parties that oppose the majority party or coalition formed. The largest amongst these parties is called the opposition party.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें। ऐसे ही और एजुकेशनल वीडियोस देखने के लिए हमारे चैनल होम रिवाइज को सब्सक्राइब करें।